Good afternoon. Hope you're having a great week. It is Tuesday, April 5th, 12:56 p.m. Central Time. Pretty sure we're on standard time now. No, we're on daylight savings time now. I hate daylight savings. I wish they'd get rid of that stupid crap. And they're pushing through legislation to make it permanent where we're always on daylight savings. I hate daylight savings. Um, it would be an improvement to go completely on one system or the other rather than flipping our time twice a year. But my preference would be just to go on standard time all the time. Just completely get rid of daylight savings time. I hate daylight savings time so much. But anyway, we're going to do a load board video. I'm at home and I'm looking to leave the house, I don't know, within the next week or so, approximately. So we're going to look and see what the load board is like. So let's see here. This is the load search where I set up my parameters. What we're looking at right here, this is my Oklahoma City strict. This is my really strict search looking for loads to leave the house on. As you can see, it's really picky. I'm really picky on the destinations I'm willing to go to. This is not a picky rate per mile anymore. It used to be a picky rate per mile, $3.30 a mile. Minimum of $4,000, maximum of 2 stops. Maximum weight, 38,000 pounds. That's not going to change. I do not haul over 38,000 pounds. It's not something I do. I have done it a couple of times, but in general, I don't. What are some other parameters? Well, I don't like hauling hazmat because in general hazmat loads don't pay a premium or enough of a premium to get me to haul them. And I'm not a team, so I don't have teams on here. So let me refresh loads of interest. No, load count. So with these search parameters, this is a 350-mile radius around Oklahoma City. There are 31 results. Let's add in hazmat. And that almost doubled it, up to 52. All right, let's take a look and see if these hazmat loads are paying enough money to bother with. All right, so let's see what we got here. This very top load, CGI, Little Rock to Little Rock, power, towing, power only or tow away. This is bullshit. CGI Jimmy is the one that lists these line haul runs, and this amount right here that he puts is nothing remotely close to what the load actually pays. These are really low paying crap. Last time I talked with CGI Jimmy on one of these loads, they pay different in every city, but they're all very close to the same price. So last time I contacted him about one of these loads, they were paying somewhere in the area of $2.45 a mile. $2.45 a mile is what I think it was. Actually, I think it was less than that. Because after your percentage cut, you were making between $1.50 and $1.90 a mile. I've contacted him on 2 or 3 of these runs, and what you make after the percentage cuts is $1.50 to $1.90 a mile. So they pay really bad. So just completely ignore this load up here. CGI Jimmy just puts some bullshit number to get it to the top of the list, to get more people to contact him about these shitty loads. And they set on the load board all day, every day. And that tells you it's a bad load. Good loads don't sit on the load board for more than 15 minutes. So let's see here. Joplin to Cupertino, California. There's a ton of these Joplin, Missouri loads. Are there any more of them down here? Oh, there was a ton of them here yesterday. There were like a dozen of them, but it's pretty much the same load. So these Joplin, Missouri to Cupertino loads, Cupertino, California, there were several more of these loads posted. Here's some more of them. There's one. But there were probably 10 to 12 of them posted yesterday, which means that this load probably got covered. And all these agents that still have it listed just haven't taken it down yet. But this load used to pay $6,500. Joplin, Missouri, going into California, anywhere in California, all of these Joplin, Missouri loads going into California, they all come out of the same place. And I've hauled these loads 2 or 3 different times, and all the ones going into California pay $6,500. Well, now they're paying $8,500. That's a huge bump in price, $2,000 extra dollars. That's a huge price increase. I'm not sure if that's just because of the fuel cost or what the deal is, but I'm seeing a lot of loads going into California that are sitting on the load board. Normally, there are not a lot of loads, like almost all of the loads, like St. Joseph, Missouri to Chico. All these loads going to Fontana, California. This is all probably the same load. Kansas City to Fontana. Look at all these things. Kansas City to Fontana. Okay, these are all different loads. This is VAM, the VAM agency. VAM does FedEx. So these all have different pickup dates and delivery dates. So these are all different loads going from Kansas City, Missouri to Fontana, California. So that FedEx lane, it looks like whoever normally hauls that has decided to stop hauling that bullshit because they're still paying some cheap ass $3.88 a mile for this. The cost on this load has not increased. This is the problem with contract freight, is that contract freight is really nice whenever freight rates drop. But what typically happens when freight rates drop considerably is that the shippers and receivers want to renegotiate the contracts to a lower rate. And then when freight rates jump up dramatically, the same thing happens in reverse. The freight companies want to renegotiate the rates. So the point of contract freight is to have a steady rate through price fluctuation. But if the price fluctuates too much, then one side or the other is going to want to renegotiate. And right now, the rates that they have for these FedEx loads are just bullshit. Like, this is just some cheap crap. So this crap's been sitting on the load board for several days. I've been watching the load board on and off, and this stuff's been sitting there. Tons of loads going into California are sitting there. And I don't want to go to California. And I'm thinking that everybody else doesn't want to go to California right now. Let's look at fuel prices before we look at the load board anymore. Let me pause this and get the fuel prices pulled up. All right, we got the fuel page pulled up. Now, last time I looked at fuel prices, what the huge increase in prices have done is they basically normalized fuel prices across the entire country. Now, there's no longer this huge disparity between California fuel prices and like Oklahoma fuel prices. That's the way it was last time I looked. We're about to look again. And basically what it was there used to be like a 50 cent to $1 per gallon price difference between Oklahoma and California fuel prices. And last time I looked, there was still that exact same 50 cent to $1 per gallon fuel price difference. But if you look at it with the increased fuel prices, percentage-wise, it's no longer as big of a difference. You see what I mean? Like used to, before the Democrats took control and pushed their war on fossil fuels, back when we still had Trump in office, I was paying about $2 a gallon for fuel in Oklahoma City, and it was about $3 a gallon in California. That is what I have to break down the math on that. What is that percentage increase? 66% increase. Is that right? Let's do 2 times 1.66. That's not quite right. 50% increase. Yeah, why couldn't I do that in my head? It's a 50% increase. So it's a 50% increase in fuel price. But whenever you the fuel prices raise and it maintains that same gap, it becomes a smaller percentage. So it's no longer a 50% increase. So if fuel here in Oklahoma City is $5 a gallon, and fuel in California is $6 a gallon, it's still $1 a gallon difference. Then percentage wise, that goes to 6 divided by 5. That goes to a 20%. It's only a 20% difference in fuel. It's not as big of a deal. Like, you can fuel up anywhere and you're getting fucking ripped off everywhere. Like, there's no place like it's if it's only a 20% difference in fuel, yeah, it's obviously better to spend less money on fuel, but it's not the massive 50% that we used to be dealing with. But let's take a look at, I wish they had a map on here, but the phone app has a map on it. So let's look at Fontana. I hate this website. This website is so bad. 25-mile radius vendor. Let's not look at all of the vendors. Let's look at Petro and TA. I'm not able to select multiple vendors. Oh, that's so bad. Holy crap. And we do not want to look at pump price. I want to look at the price after Landstar discounts. So it's a 77 cent per gallon discount. Let's look at TA. It's exactly the same. So the TA and the Petro in Ontario, right across the street from each other, have the exact same fuel prices. They're charging roughly $6.20 a gallon, and we're paying roughly $5.43 a gallon with a 77 cent per gallon discount. That is really bad, because this 77 cent per gallon discount, that's pretty much what we were getting back when fuel prices were $3 a gallon. So percentage-wise, our fuel discounts are terrible in comparison to what they used to be. This is terrible. This is horrible. All right, now let's check Oklahoma City, one of the cheapest places you can get fuel in the country. Not the cheapest, but one of the cheapest. And we're looking at $1.20 a gallon less. So yeah, it's roughly the same difference in price that it's been for a long time. And we have almost the exact same discount, 78 cents a gallon, and I'm paying $4.22 a gallon. So my price difference is almost exactly $1, because I'm getting the same discount, and it's $1.20 price difference between the two. So yeah, $1 a gallon is a lot of money, but that's pretty much what you were paying price-wise difference in California, back before the Ukraine invasion happened. So nothing has really changed in the cost of fuel difference between California and everywhere else. California has always been, somewhere in the area of 50 cents to $1 a gallon, or a little bit more than that, than everywhere else. It's been pretty damn high. So I'm not seeing a massive, like, looking at this, I don't see why people aren't going to California. So let's go back over to available loads. So the fuel prices in California don't really explain it. But you don't normally see this many California destination loads sitting on the load board, because California is like a highly sought after destination, because you usually have really premium loads coming out of California. Let's check and see what the rates are like coming out of California. All right, so I'm going to just change this to Fontana, California. 350 miles is too big of a radius, but I mean, we're going to pull up almost all the way up into Central California, Stockton, with that big of a search. Let's narrow it down. Like, we don't want to get San Diego or anything. Let's just do 50 miles. 50 miles around Fontana. And let's see what we got here. Wow, this is bad. The loads coming out of Southern California suck. Maybe this is the reason there's so many California loads sitting on the board. Nobody wants to go into California, this shitty market. Now, I do have it set up to where basically no East Coast destinations. Let me change my destinations and let me go back to search results here. Not search results, but search parameters. So I have like really strict destinations in here. Like I don't want to see Florida loads. I don't want to see anything up and down the East Coast, and I don't want to see anything in the Northeast. I don't want to go to any of those places. So let's clear that out. And that's about it. That's about all I want to clear out. Now let's go back and look at destinations or Southern California loads. One other thing, we'll bump this up to 150 miles. All right, now we're up to 117 results. These top 3 loads right here are posted by the MEP agency. MEP does like tours. I don't want to do a fucking tour because they don't generally pay that well. And there's a bunch of bullshit that you have to deal with the tours. You generally have to go into like New York City and shit like that, places I don't want to go. And a lot of them go into Canada and stuff. So if you want to do tours, these top 3 loads are tours. And I don't really recommend tours. I've never done one, but there's usually a bunch of extra bullshit. Like you have to help load and unload, or you have to have specialized equipment, or you're going into some, like they have really strict schedules. Like whenever they finish with a show, you have to haul ass to the next show. And then you sit and wait for them to do the show. And then once the show's over, it's a mad race to get to the next show. But yeah, and they're just like, just reading that. Let me show you the, excuse me. Throat got really dry. Let me just show you the comments on one of these loads. This is a dedicated for 35 days. Dedicated run for 35 days in 16 cities. Driver must be fully vaccinated and have a California compliant truck in good, clean condition. The entire job is 6,102 miles. The first show is in LA, Los Angeles, June 11th, and the last show is in Queens, New York on July 15th. If you meet the requirements, give us a call. There are 2 more loads that go with this. One that will load at a warehouse going into Los Angeles, and one coming out of New York going to a later determined location. Both of the extra loads will be billed as a truckload rate above and beyond the rate shown here. So aside from the 35 days that you're on this load, there's actually 2 more loads in addition to this that you don't know what the rate is on those additional 2 loads that you're going to have to pull. And then they have all these requirements. But yeah, it's just bullshit. I don't want to deal with this stuff. Some people love this stuff. They love, rubbing shoulders with whatever in the hell the tour is for. Not everybody's a big celebrity. You might be doing a tour for somebody you never heard of before. Hazmat. I have hazmat on here. I thought I had hazmat disabled. I got 2 loads right here showing hazmat. All right, so how do I judge how good the Southern California market is? How many loads there are over $8,000? Now, I'm not counting these 3 tours. We're not going to count those 3 tours. So how many loads do we have over $8,000? That's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 loads over $8,000. And this one's going to Canada. This one's going to Canada. And yeah, almost all these loads are going to Canada. So how many loads was that? That's one, two, three, four, five, six, 7 loads. Out of 7 loads over $8,000, 4 of them are going to Canada. One of them is bullshit Jimmy over at CGI. CGI Jimmy's bullshit line haul run. And then we have New York, Connecticut, and New York. Oh, actually, no, that's one of the entertainment tour ones. So we have 2 into the very deep Northeast, New York and Connecticut. And this one looks like it requires a specialized trailer, probably a van with liftgate, but they chose logistics van. This is a really common thing that these brokers do, is they don't choose the correct thing. So VANL is logistics van, and DLG, I forget what that stands for, but neither of these are liftgate, and I can guarantee you that they want a liftgate. Let's look at the comments. Liftgate and pallet jack required for this load. Well, this broker's too stupid to list it, because liftgate van loads don't show up. Let's go back over to, we're back over in the load search. Liftgate van loads do not show up in my search results because I have them deselected. VNLG, van trailer with liftgate. So yeah, there's a bunch of dumb brokers out there that don't know what in the hell they're doing. Not all brokers are very bright. So the Southern California market sucks, and I'm guessing that the Northern California market sucks. Let's check it out just to make sure. Tracy, California is a good place to look. 150 miles is a good, yeah, all right. Load count, 86 loads. There were 117 in Southern California with these same parameters. Let's check it out. All right, what do we got going on here? Rodeo, California to Canada with an extra stop. One of CGI Jimmy's bullshit line haul runs. Like, if these loads actually paid this money, we wouldn't have the load board littered with CI Jimmy's bullshit line haul runs. I wish that Landstar would do something about this crap, but they don't. All right, Stockton to Canada, 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 Canada. All these are Canada. All those loads right there are Canada. I need to deselect Canada on my search. So it looks like the only load that we don't have a single load over $8,000 coming out of Northern California. All the loads are going to Canada. You never see Canada loads on my search results because I hardly ever show you a load board without filters. But right now I cleared out all the destination filters, so you're seeing all the bullshit loads. I do not go to Canada, so I don't use them. I have no idea what normal prices are for Canada loads because I never look at them. So just ignore all these loads and basically ignore every load from here up to the top. They're all bullshit. They're all going to Canada or CGI Jimmy's nonsense loads. So we have a bunch of loads going to Denver, California. All these Patterson, California to Denver, they're all posted by the same agency, and they're all picking up and delivering on different dates. So they're not all the same load. It looks like a contract that this agent has to haul loads from Patterson, California to Denver, Colorado. $5 a mile is fairly standard for Denver. I'm not lured to going to Denver for $5 a mile. The load's paying $5.45 a mile. That's the full rate. You get, roughly 65% of that. And that does not, no, that's I wouldn't consider that to be a good load. It's a decent load. I mean, it's paying the, $5 a mile is normal, and with the increased fuel surcharge, this is basically, an average load going to Denver, because Denver is probably the worst market you can go into in the country. I think it's worse than Florida. Okay, that's all there is? Are you kidding me? All the way down to here is just that one agent listing that one load. Well, that load picking up every day. um, and then we have San Francisco to Grand Prairie, Texas, paying $3.42 a mile. Yay. Okay, so yeah. California sucks right now. The California market sucks. I don't know exactly why the California market sucks, but the main reason the California market is so good is because we get almost everything in this country from China. Well, Asia. China, South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, the Philippines, all those places. A huge amount of stuff that we consume in this country, a large number of our imports come from those Asian countries. So that's the reason California is such a big place to get freight, and the reason you get so many good loads is because all of the shit across the country mainly comes in from there. It's not all of it, but that's like a huge amount of what we consume in this country. A large amount of our imports come in through California, and you might think, why don't they come in somewhere else like Oregon or Washington along the West Coast? Well, it's because California has ports large enough for those large freight ships. And those large freight ships, there's very few ports in the entire world that they can dock at. And California has two ports, the Port of Los Angeles and what the hell is the other one? I can't remember the name of the other port in the LA area. But there's basically two ports in the LA area that can accommodate those massive ships. I'm not sure if Oregon or Washington has a single port that can accommodate those massive ships. So I think that those two ports in the LA area are... Is it the Port of Oceans? Port of Long Beach. It's the Port of Los Angeles and the Port of Long Beach. But I don't think there's any other ports up and down the West Coast that are large enough to accommodate those huge freighter ships. And that's the reason the LA market is so big and it pays so well. And I've heard that China, you know what, we can look it up right now. We can search the internet. All right, we did a search for China lockdowns. China has been doing a lot of lockdowns here recent. China extends lockdown of Shanghai as coronavirus cases mount despite draconian zero COVID policy. Cases in China hit record as Shanghai extends lockdown. 37 million people in COVID lockdown. Here's what we know. U.S. cautious as China begins extensive COVID-19 lockdown. China has like a 100% vaccination rate, and like... All right, let's not go off on a rant about the whole Wuhan virus stupidity. U.S. cautious as China begins extensive COVID-19 lockdowns. So this dates back to March 29th. This is March 15th. So the lockdowns have been going on for a couple of weeks. Shares in China fall amid strongest Wuhan virus lockdown yet. China's Wuhan lockdowns set to further disrupt global supply chains. China's lockdowns drive up freight costs. That's not how shit works. Now, whenever they talk about increased freight costs in these news articles, they're talking about the cost for a shipper or receiver to get something from manufacturing to a warehouse or a retail outlet or whatever, they're not talking specifically about truck freight rates. They're talking about overall freight rates. So a lot of times when they're talking about increased freight rates, they're talking about increased, you know, rates to haul containers on a ship, or increased rates somewhere other than the U.S. Trucking freight market. So it's going to have the exact opposite effect of us. What impacts our freight rates is the amount of freight versus the amount of drivers willing to haul that freight. That is what determines freight rates for us as truck drivers in the United States. So if they're having lockdowns in China and there's decreased freight coming into the U.S., we have a reduction in freight. We have not had a reduction in drivers. So we're going to see lower freight rates. I don't want to rant and rave about that. We have a lot of stupid people in the world that don't understand the basics of how, like, I'm not like that smart. I'm just not as stupid as most people. Chinese farmer leaves. Corn supply. Chinese farmers leave fields fallow as Jilin lockdown threatens corn supply. I don't know what fallow is. Yeah, so that's most likely why the California freight sucks right now, is because of the lockdowns in China. There's probably a significant decrease in freight coming into California. Let's see if we can find out how many ships are setting off the coast of California. Freight ship coast California. Finally, some relief from supply chain bottlenecks for the besieged port of LA and Long Beach. In the first 2 months of 2022, the queue of ships waiting for Southern California berths fell. Come on, why don't you just tell me how many ships are sitting out there? The number of ships heading towards LA and Long Beach across the Pacific is down to the mid 40s from an all-time high of 109 on January 9th, but it's still 50% above the Wuhan virus norm of 30 container ships above, or of 30 container ships en route. They don't have them like setting off the coast anymore like they used to. Now you can get in line for the port of LA and the port of Long Beach as soon as you leave port in China or wherever. Used to, you had to make it within a certain number of miles of the port to be able to check in and get in line to unload. And that's the reason we had so many ships just setting off the port, because they had to come all the way over there to get in line. Now they can get in line once they leave their port of origin, and then they can just like slowly make their way across and save fuel, and not have, you know, it's just better for everybody, the new system that they use for the line. But yeah, it looks like, and this article is from a couple weeks ago. This is March 16th. That's like 3 weeks ago, and they were already making it through those. They had 109 ships lined up to unload in early January, and by mid-March the number was around 45. And now it's probably below normal levels. Normal levels, they said, are about 30 ships. So now it's probably lower than that. But I didn't see a newer article that has some better information than that. Yeah. So, all right, let's flip back over to the load board. All right, we're back on the load board search, and let's reselect my Oklahoma City strict loads and try to find a load to leave the house on. I don't want to go to California, so let's take California off of my destination list. I mainly just want to run up and down central US. I took all the East Coast out. All the West Coast is out. All right, let's look at load count. There's only 6 loads going up and down the central US. Let's look at them. All right, so we have one of CGI Jimmy's bullshit loads. We can just ignore that. Camden, Arkansas to Tucson, Arizona. That's basically going to California. I should take Arizona out of my results. Yep, I'm going to take Arizona out because here's another Arizona, Springfield to Arizona. Because basically, if I do a delivery into Arizona, I'm going to have to go into California to get my next load. So there's really no point in having Arizona in here because I'm not going to mess with an Arizona load. Minnesota, Marshall, Texas to North Branch, Minnesota. That's not too bad. Pryor, Oklahoma to Tucson, Arizona. Springfield, Missouri to Appleton, Wisconsin. That's a pretty good load. Picks up in 2 days. I'm not going to be ready to leave in 2 days. Oh, it has a whole bunch of extra stops on it. Yay. I hate agents that do this bullshit. They just lie on the load listings. Because normally this wouldn't show up in my search results. Because I have it set to where it doesn't show up anything that has more than 2 stops on it. And that load had a bunch of stops on it. It had more than 2. So, yeah, it's all bullshit loads. So it's looking like the freight market in general sucks right now. I mean, that sucks isn't like it's not as good as it normally has been over the past year. So the freight market's taking a downturn, and the freight in California sucks. Freight in California is really bad right now, and is probably going to get worse. So I'm going to avoid the entire West Coast. I'm going to try to avoid the entire East Coast. And I'm going to try to stay in the central US. And I'm going to have to set up a load alert to alert me of loads. Let me show you how I set up a load alert. Alright, so when I'm setting up a load alert, it has to be really, really strict. It has to be exactly or really close to exactly what I'm looking for. Otherwise, I'm just going to get flooded with loads. I don't want to get flooded with loads. I want every single load that pops up on my phone to be a load I want to call about. So let's do Oklahoma City. 350 miles. The only reason I search 350 miles is in case there's some unicorn load 350 miles away. I'm not going to deadhead 350 miles to pick up the type of loads that I would haul from a shorter distance. So 350 miles might be a little bit too big of a radius. We'll go ahead and leave it at 350 for now. don't know. Let me think. Let's take it. Basically, 350 is Kansas City. 250 would be Springfield, Missouri. And if I bring it down to 200, then that's Dallas and Joplin, Missouri. And Tulsa is 100 miles away. Let's leave it at 350. All right, minimum rate per mile. Let's put it at 380 per mile. Now, I'm not going to drive all the way to Kansas City for 380 per mile, but if something coming out of Oklahoma City or really close to Oklahoma City for 380 a mile, I would be interested in that. Now, let's look at destinations. Nope, we don't want to go to Arizona. No, we don't want to go to New Mexico. Let's double check out west. We don't want to go to Alaska, Colorado, California, Idaho, Montana. It's still we're still in the late winter right now. I don't want to be going to Idaho and Montana and Nevada and Oregon, Utah, Washington, Wyoming. Yeah, I'm okay with not having any of those places. Midwest. Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, Nebraska, North Dakota, Ohio, San Diego, Wisconsin. Or not San Diego, South Dakota. The only one I'm hesitant on is Ohio. We'll leave it in there. In the South, Alabama, Arkansas. I don't want to get back down into that Florida, Georgia area, especially, when freight is amazing, it really sucks to be down in the Florida, Georgia area. When freight starts to dip, oh my goodness, it is terrible to be down in the Florida, Georgia area. So Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, I'm okay with all those. I don't want to go to the coast. Tennessee, I'm okay with. I don't want to go to Virginia or West Virginia. All right. Looking good so far. The Mid-Atlantic, yeah, I don't want to, no. Definitely not the New England area. Definitely not Canada. Okay, so we're good with all these destinations. And load count, we're at 3 loads. Now we need to do a date. So when will I be ready to leave the house at the earliest? We will say Sunday at the earliest. Oh, wait a second. I'm doing the wrong. I don't want to do that date field. That's the delivery date. I want to do the pickup date. We'll do the 10th through the 17th. I want to look at loads that are picking up from the 10th through the 17th. And now we're going to save this search as OKC alert. So now what I'll have to do to get the alerts on my phone is I'm going to have to go load up the app on my phone, which the phone is down in my bedroom. And I'll have to enable the SMS or the alerts on my phone from my phone. My phone has push alerts through the app, but I can't enable those alerts through this app through the web page. I have to do it through the phone. So I'll go do that whenever I finish this video. Let's go back to Oklahoma City Strict and let's just look and see what the freight rates are like across the country. So I'm going to enable all of the normal destinations, so all of the West Coast except Alaska. We already have everything in the Southwest and the Midwest selected. The South, we're going to select everything. The Mid-Atlantic, fuck them. New England, Canada, no. Okay. So now let's look at, what do we want to do? Let's take out the number of stops and let's look at things over 380 a mile. I think we're good. So the load count within a 350 mile radius of Oklahoma City just shot up. So let's take a look at these loads. All right, so we have 162 results. Dallas to Kent, Washington. We have a bunch of these loads from CGI. This is CGI has a bunch of agents, and it is not Jimmy, I don't think, that posts these loads. These are legitimate loads. They have a whole bunch of loads all the way down to here. Everything from here up is CGI, that one agency posting all of these loads going from Dallas to Portland and Washington. Portland and Kent, Oregon and Washington. And then down at the very bottom you have one of CGI Jimmy's bullshit line haul runs, Little Rock to Little Rock. So these loads going from Dallas to Kent, Washington are pretty much paying the same price that they were before the Ukraine invasion. Nothing has changed in these prices. These rates are the same as they were paying. And these loads set on the board. They have tons of these loads. And these things pay crazy good fuel surcharge. Let's take a look at one of them, and I'll show you. They pay like $1 a mile fuel surcharge. Oh, wow. They're more than $1 a mile. $3,148 for 2,000 miles. Let's break out the calculator on that. Let me try to remember which side I divide by. That's $1.53 a mile in fuel surcharge. And they were paying that kind of fuel surcharge. I think they might have actually increased the fuel surcharge. But they were paying like dollar plus a mile fuel surcharge before the fuel prices spiked. So this is nothing new. These loads have always paid amazing fuel surcharge. So I might actually haul one of these loads to leave the house on. Dallas to Kent, Washington. I don't really want to be driving up in the mountain passes right now, but who knows? I might get lucky with weather. I'll have to check and see what the freight is like coming out of Washington or Oregon. I really don't think that the freight's going to be very good coming out of Washington or Oregon. If the freight is bad coming out of California, it's got to be really bad coming out of Oregon and Washington. But this is the kind of run that I love to do in the summer. I like to go up into the north, up into the mountains in the summer. And we're getting kind of close to the summer. Look and see what else we got here. So for anybody that's just, you know what I should do is I should actually say the amounts out loud for people that are just listening to this. They're not actually watching. So the loads going from Dallas up to Kent, Washington, and Portland, Oregon are paying about the same price, right around $9,400, $9,500 on the full rate, and they're paying like $6,400 line haul and $3,000 fuel surcharge. So we get 100% of fuel surcharge, 65% of line haul. So what's the math on that? 6,400 times 0.65. So that's 4,160 plus the fuel surcharge of somewhere around $3,000. So that's $7,160. That's not bad. See how much time they have on these loads. You can't deliver on the weekend, but it looks like it's 3 days. But if there's a weekend, then you have to set until Monday to deliver. That's what it's looking like, just skimming these pickup and delivery times. So those are pretty solid loads. I might dip down to Dallas and grab one of those. I don't want to go down to Dallas, man, but I'll have to look and see what it's like. We'll look at Kent, Washington here in a minute, or Portland, Oregon. Basically, what I'm seeing in these rates is not much has changed. These are the same kind of rates that I was seeing before the Russian invasion. Now, when I looked over at California, the rates over there are really low. They suck. They're really bad. But as far as 350-mile radius around Oklahoma City, all of this shit looks normal. This is basically the same rates that were happening before the invasion. All right, let's look at another area. Let's go over to Portland. All right, let's change this to Portland, Oregon. And let's keep it on a 350-mile radius. That'll pick up Kent, Washington, Seattle, all those areas. And lots of other areas. And anything else? I'm probably going to have to drop the rate per mile significantly. Let's do load count. There are only 16 loads showing up with these parameters. Let's go ahead and look at them. All right, 350 miles might be a little bit too far because we're picking up loads that are originating in Canada. So this first load up here is originating in Canada. Then we have one of CGI Jimmy's bullshit loads. Another one of CGI Jimmy's, 3 of CGI Jimmy's bullshit loads. We have Lacey, Washington to Goodyear, Arizona. That's a pretty damn good load. I'm not sure exactly where Goodyear, Arizona is at. If it's out in the middle of nowhere, then that's not that good of a load. Because you're probably going to have to deadhead into California to pick up your next load from Arizona. New Mexico is not a good place to be. Wyoming is not a good place to deliver. Park City, Utah, no. All of these loads also have a couple of extra stops on them. Colorado, 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 Wyoming, Montana. So all of these destinations are pretty bad destinations. Let's look at Goodyear, Arizona and see where in the hell that's at. All right, it's edge of Phoenix. That's not a terrible place to be. All right, let's drop the rate per mile and see if we can't see some different loads. All right, I dropped it down to $3 per mile. So we have a couple going from Portland to Lansing, Michigan, paying $3.42 a mile. Tip City, Ohio, paying $3.05 a mile. Here's one going right back down to Grand Prairie, Texas, to Dallas. Paying $3.01 a mile. Oh, Oklahoma City, Portland, Oregon to Oklahoma City. $3.11 a mile. These rates are terrible. I mean, if I took that load up to Washington, I could find a load back out of or Oregon, Portland, or Kent. Either load that I took, they pay about the same. I would probably choose the one going to Portland. But it looks like I would be able to find a load coming back out pretty easy. But I may have to haul something cheap. Hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, we're approaching an hour, so I should probably wrap up this video here pretty soon. Let's look at another freight market. All right. So I just changed the city to Janesville, Wisconsin, and I changed the rate per mile. I bumped it back up to a minimum of 380 per mile. And what is this crap? Eagan, Minnesota, Eagan, Minnesota. So some kind of line haul run by an agency I've never seen before. Huh. Almost all this stuff up here is return trip. Here's a couple of CGI Jimmy loads. These three are CGI Jimmy's bullshit line haul runs. Damn, 350 miles goes all the way down to Kentucky. Kentucky to LA, $4.19 a mile. Yeah, the LA market is really bad. The California market is really bad. Normally, you wouldn't see loads going into California sitting on the load board, especially loads paying, good rate per mile. It looks like everybody is realizing that the California market sucks and they're steering clear of that bullshit. And you're seeing a lot of loads going to California sitting on the load board. Compton, California for $3.96 a mile. There's another Compton. These are probably all the same load. Just posted multiple times. San Francisco. Yeah, a lot of loads paying around $4 a mile going into California. Just skimming through here, what I'm seeing is basically the same rates that I was seeing before. before the Ukraine invasion of Russia, which is not good because fuel prices have gone up by a lot. And the freight rates throughout most of the places I'm looking at are about the same. California is much lower than it used to be. Ooh, DUV, they usually have really good loads. Neenah, Wisconsin to Aurora, Colorado, paying $5.13 a mile. That's crap. Come on, DUV, you usually pay a premium on loads. That is not a premium. And I'm not sure if I mentioned it in this video or any other videos, but Landstar lost one of its big. I think it was Landstar's biggest agent was based out of Ukraine, and they had something like 400 people working for them. I think I mentioned this in a previous video, and I showed some news articles on it. But as soon as the whole Ukraine invasion thing happened, and they started doing the sanctions on Russia, the Landstar lost one of its largest agents. And we were hitting like 110,000 loads on the load board per day. And as soon as that happened, it's dropped down to like 65,000 loads per day, 70,000 loads per day. And it's been climbing up from there. I think that Landstar is trying to get the other agents to pick up that business that they're missing. They're trying to find other ways to get that business back that was lost when they lost that agent. Or maybe that agent is spinning up operations in another country. I don't know what the hell's going on, but our load counts are slowly getting back up to where they used to be. But there are a lot of loads that are not on the load board that are normally on the load board. There are a lot of loads missing from the load board. I was like, wait a second. Did I wrap that up? Did I just kind of give up on it halfway through? Yeah. So I think I'm going to head back out over the road and, get to making some money again. Sending the tax man $8,500 put a dent in my savings, and that's a little depressing. Even if I plan for it, even if I know that I'm going to be spending it, it's still it's depressing to spend that much money. To for that much money to disappear, it sucks. So I need to get back out there and replenish my funds. And I'm not really sure what exactly I'm going to do, but I might grab one of those loads going to Portland or Kent, Washington. I might grab one of those loads. My preference, though, would be to run Central U.S. north-south. But we'll see what's available. We'll see what kind of load alerts I get, because the loads that we're sitting here looking at on the load board, these are usually not the great loads. The best loads are the ones that are only on the board for like 15 minutes. You get them on load alerts. If you do not use load alerts, you are not going to be getting very good loads. You're going to be getting the kind of stuff that sets on the board. You're going to be missing out on the premium loads. You have to use load alerts to get those premium loads. The likelihood that you're going to refresh the board and see a premium load before somebody else gets it, you're just going to happen to time it to where you open up the load board just as it gets posted. That's very unlikely. It's possible, but it's unlikely. So you really need to use load alerts so that you can be one of the first people to call on those loads, because there's lots of people that use load alerts And not only do you have to use load alerts, you have to call instantly. As soon as you see that load, you just have to skim it real quick and call. Because that's all the other drivers are doing, is that as soon as they see the load alert, they're just hitting the call button. And you have to be one of the first people to call in to get that load. So we'll see what kind of loads I get on load alerts. I would love to find a load that's picking up as close to Oklahoma City as possible, and ideally going up to Green Bay, Wisconsin would be nice. I would love to go to Green Bay, Wisconsin right now. Yeah. Green Bay, Janesville, Milwaukee, somewhere in that area would be really nice. Hell, I would. Fargo, North Dakota is not a great freight market, but I'm kind of in the mood to just drive up 29. It's a really desolate road. There's not a lot of, there's not much of anything on it. And that would be just like a really chill load to take. I would probably be willing to take a load up there, knowing that my next load probably wouldn't be paying that great. Just, to have a chill drive. So Fargo, North Dakota would be a pretty nice drive too. But if I can get a good paying load going to Green Bay, then my next load will be a good paying load. I don't know. Fargo sounds really good. I like the idea of going to Fargo. But I could also, take one of those loads going to Portland or Kent. And those are some good loads. And it's late enough in the winter right now that the likelihood that I would get stuck in snow would be highly unlikely. So, yeah, I might take one of those loads. I'll just have to be real careful about looking to see what kind of loads are coming out of those markets if I book one of the loads going into those markets. But I don't really want to go to Kent. The Seattle area does not have many truck stops. I don't like going to the Seattle area. If I have a choice between Seattle and Portland, it is an easy choice. Portland has some really nice truck stops. I love the truck stops in Portland. They got, what is that, Jubitz? Jubitz is a really awesome truck stop in Portland. I like the TA in Portland. There's several truck stops in the Portland area. But Seattle, man, Seattle's a shit show as far as they don't have anywhere near enough truck parking for the amount of trucks that are in that area. And it sucks. Seattle is not trucker friendly at all. I don't like going to Seattle. It's one of the places I try to avoid. So, yeah, given the choice between Portland and Seattle, it's an easy choice. Very, very easy choice. I like Portland. I hate Seattle. It's not picking the lesser of two evils because I actually like Portland. Seattle is a shit show. But anyway, I think I'll wrap up the video. I have a few things I need to wrap up around the house before I leave. And I need to do food prep, which is probably what I'm going to do as soon as I finish this video. I'm going to go downstairs and start doing meal prep for the truck. Start cooking food, and then I put it in little containers and put it in the freezer and freeze it. And that's what I take out on the truck with me, is little frozen dinners that I make myself. And what I'm planning on doing this time is the main things that I do are let's get off of this and go to the camera. The main things that I do for my meal preps for the truck, I've done macaroni and cheese. Macaroni and cheese holds really well frozen. I'm probably going to do macaroni and cheese again because, man, it was really good. And frozen mac and cheese, reheating it turned out really well. I've done rice. This dirty rice is like a Cajun rice. Rice does not rice is terrible once it's been frozen. It just, I don't do rice anymore after that. I've done it one time, and freezing rice and then thawing it out, it just comes out terrible. Beans come out really good. So I've done pinto beans several times. I'm talking like slow cooked pinto beans with bacon, and stuff like that in it, just like your country beans. I do those all the time for the truck. Hamburger Helper, I've done that once or twice, and it comes out okay. It comes out decent. I do the beef stroganoff and the the noodles or the pasta or whatever in it. It doesn't do too well once it's been frozen. It comes out okay. It's good, but it's not as bad as the rice. But yeah, I might do Hamburger Helper again. But mac and cheese, um, beans, those two come out really well after being frozen. And pork chops. So, reheating a pork chop once it's been frozen. So, fully cooked pork chop. What I do for the pork chops is I fully cook the pork chop, and then I put it into a Ziploc baggie and put it in the freezer, freeze it solid. So in the truck, what I'm doing to heat it up is I take it out, I put it on a paper plate, and put it in the microwave. Now, if that's all you do is to put it on a paper plate and put it in the microwave, after you heat it up and you take it back out, it's like beef jerky. It is like not edible. It's so like tough and chewy. Like it's just it's like eating like jerky or something. It just comes out like a piece of rubber. It comes out like leather. But if you do the exact same thing, paper plate with a pork chop on it that's been frozen, fully cooked, and you reheat it in the microwave, but you just get some water. Like I take my water jug and I just drop a little bit of water. It doesn't have to be much, just a little bit of water in that paper plate with that pork chop, and then heat it up. It comes out like it's fresh off the fresh out of the skillet. Like whenever it was first cooked, it comes out amazing. So I am probably going to cook up a bunch of pork chops to take back out over the road. Because I found a way to microwave them to where they come out edible. So probably going to do mac and cheese, pork chops. I'm going to do beans again, but this time instead of country beans, I'm going to do barbecue beans, which is basically just country beans and with barbecue sauce and sugar in it. It's about the only difference. And I'm not sure what all else I might do as far as meal prep goes. I might do some Hamburger Helper. Food prices are going up a lot. Food prices have been going up, and they're going to continue to go up. A lot of news agencies have been reporting that food places, grocery store CEOs, have been saying that consumers should expect prices to go up by like 20 to 50% over the next couple of weeks. And they're probably going to continue rising after that. But we're about to see a massive increase in not fuel prices, but food prices. We've already seen the huge increase in fuel prices. But yeah, the whole Ukraine Russia thing, and then all the sanctions and the lockdowns in China, all of that is disrupting the world's supply chain of food and fuel and goods, consumer goods. So it's causing a lot of disruptions in a lot of things. So prices, yeah, I don't know. We live in very interesting times. There's a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, I'm going to go down and do meal prep and set up my load alerts on the phone and start looking for a load to leave the house on. So anyway, I hope you're having a great week, and hope everything's going well for you and it continues going well. So have a good one. Bye.